And then the last thing is going to really freak people out is the blue comet that's coming through on the winter solstice of 2022. So that'll be another one. It's this big comet, Pan-STARRS K2 2017C. Was the furthest out interacting.
How often does that circle around?
It doesn't. It's the first time it's ever been in our solar system, but it's blue, and it was the furthest out ever energetically interacting with the sun. That's how they spotted it so long ago. It's the furthest distance out ever to interact with the sun as a comet. Apparently, it's going to be as bright as the full moon during the day, and then in the evening, it's going to take up a percentage of the sky. But it's blue, like the blue star Kachina with the Hopi legend. So that's going to send people off their rockers too a couple of years before this 2024 alignment gets here, and it's all.
How big is this comet?
New studies show that by the time people reach their middle ages, the body often produces less than half of the collagen it did in their youth. Collagen is the main building block in our skin, making up 70 to 80% of it. This is why we get sagging skin and wrinkles as we age. If you want to look younger, you must supplement collagen, which will improve your skin's elasticity, make it smoother, more plump, and more youthful looking. That's why Ageless Multi-Collagen provides 5 key types of collagen you need from 4 different sources, essential to optimally support an array of full-body benefits. No odor, no taste, no clumping, unlike other collagen supplements. And this is why I recommend Health with Adapt 2030. Ageless Multi-Collagen, and look at that, I need another bag already. Quick way for youthful appearance. Use the link in the description box below for 51% off my favorite Ageless Multi-Collagen. And now on with the video.
Well, when it comes down to people, what will they require you when it comes? I'm going to make a bold call here. By the end of 2021, we'll have rationing in this country. Now, it might not be on every single item, but there's going to be rationing in the United States. On more than it is now, where you can buy like 1 roll of toilet paper. I'm talking about real rationing on the foodstuffs, and you might even be given quote unquote electronic coupons, which would be an app on your phone running on the blockchain, being immutable, where you can't change it. That we're going to come into rationing for some items in the United States.
Which items do you think would start?
Well, for sure, the meats and the meats and the eggs. Possibly fish, but these kind of protein sources will be rationed because they want you to move over to the EU. Just put out this big mandate about eating, what kind of larvae were they? About eating insects, because they realized that they had to cook it was black mealworms at a certain temperature to kill the bacteria in the gut of the black mealworms, and you had to starve them for 24 hours to let them, run through all of their whatever was out of their bacterial system in their gut. And they had to be cooked at a certain temperature, and then they had to be dried at a certain percentage, and then they had to be powdered in. That could only be done in a factory. But since the factories are now tooled for that, now it's okay to eat insects. But you might get indigestion, you might have allergic reaction, but still, they're going to push you this way.
It's interesting you brought that up about the meats and the eggs. In my medical school, we were going over nutrition and different diseases that pop up if they're deficient on certain vitamins, especially B complex type stuff. So if you have a niacin disease, you become susceptible to sunburn, and you get dermatitis, and if you don't have a certain if you're not absorbing enough of your B vitamins, you can have a whole slew of different diseases. So not having thiamine, your B1s, your B2s, your B3s, your B5s, and B9s and B12s, you can seriously get into complications that can lead to death. So minor B complex deficiency, it's reversible. But if you go down this road of multiple years of not having, to your point, not having the meat and not having the eggs, you're not getting your B vitamins. And what's going to happen is you're going to actually start seeing these diseases that are in third worlds because they don't have a high meat and egg diet. So it wouldn't surprise me that when this rationing is starting to take place, that you're going to start seeing these B vitamin deficiencies really skyrocketing.
So I'm saying with the second magnetic field forming in the outer solar system, we're going to have more landslides, more sinkholes opening, more mud volcanoes, and we're not going to be able to grow crops as efficiently as the jet streams go further out of their regular flows for the next 3 years. We're going to get more and more control, not less. They're deluding you if you think you're going to get less control. From this point forward, it's going to be more stringent, more iron fist, more lockdown, more squeezed, more control. And I am saying that it's all about the food, the amount of food. So they're going to put the world on rations, but governments are going to continue to take the excess that we would have consumed for themselves for their continuity plans, leaving us out. So let's say there's 100 tons, we'll use the word 100, and 100 tons, and 50 was for the public, and 50 was for government and military. Well, now they realize there's something really huge on the horizon coming in 2024. October is when you're looking. October 2024 is going to be the apex of this magnetic coupling, the most interaction with Earth. And after we come through October of 2024, it'll start to dissipate rather quickly because, you know, it's like that magnetism. Like if you're a kid and you had two magnets on a table, they instantly slam together. Well, it'll be just as instant when that magnetic field uncouples. So it'll just unlock pretty quickly. But during that interim time, with the changes that are coming, are going to be so vast. I mean, these Earth changes that you thought were not possible in the wildest dreams are going to be possible. And the governments are going to want more control because they're going to want more control over your behavior because you're going to be scared and you're going to be uncontrollable. So they want to control you before you're uncontrollable. You're going to be hungry, which is the worst thing for societies because we've seen through history when people are hungry, they're uncontrollable. So they're going to want to control you before you can even get uncontrollable there. But then they're going to want to control the availability of food and the access to food. So they're going to control you there. And it's all based on the food. Everything's about the food from this point forward. And the second magnetic field forming in the outer solar system with Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Now, if I'm anywhere close to being correct, you can call me out on it. I'm going to say there's going to be a massive planetary atmospheric disturbance on Uranus around late April or May of this year. Because you got to go back into May of 2020, Pluto's atmosphere collapsed. And then December of 2020, Neptune's atmosphere reversed. Now the next planet in on, if you're looking at a Taurus loop, is going to be Uranus. And it's already starting to show atmospheric anomalies. So if that one goes, then for sure it's just going to go Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Earth. So that gives us until 2023, because these are on like about a 6 month, roughly a 6 month pattern of the next planet in the solar system experiencing atmospheric anomalies. Because I don't know what would happen to we couldn't literally grow food if our planet's atmosphere compressed or expanded or reversed. The ability for us as a planetary society to continue to grow food would be nil for those years until we figured out where the new systems are setting up, how long, how dense, how intense, how deep, how ferocious it would be. And can you imagine trying to control a populace at that time? You literally couldn't. Well, this is where we're heading to within 3 years. So you can start to see lockstep how intense it's getting. It's matching with this anomaly that's coming through our solar system. And then the last thing is going to really freak people out is the blue comet that's coming through on the winter solstice of 2022. So that'll be another one. It's this big comet, Pan-STARRS K2 2017C. Was the furthest out interacting.
How often does that circle around?
It doesn't. It's the first time it's ever been in our solar system, but it's blue, and it was the furthest out ever energetically interacting with the sun. That's how they spotted it so long ago. It's the furthest distance out ever to interact with the sun as a comet. Apparently, it's going to be as bright as the full moon during the day, and then in the evening, it's going to take up a percentage of the sky. But it's blue, like the blue star Kachina with the Hopi legends. So that's going to send people off their rockers too a couple of years before this 2024 alignment gets here, and it's all.
How big is this comet?
Nobody knows yet. Really, they haven't gotten that close to look at it. But the coma is already this is 2 months ago. It was at least 10 degrees of arc across the sky, and that's still out past Saturn, way back out there, right around Uranus or something coming in. 10 degrees of arc that far out, when it gets here, it's going to be like 40 degrees of arc covering the sky. Like the halo is going to be just massive in the sky. Like I said, whoever remembers do you remember seeing hail mop in the sky up there with the blue and white one back in the 90s?
Yeah.
That's going to be a pinprick comparatively to how large this one is and what we're going to see.
This is not going to be a close call. I mean, in terms of getting into
No, it'll be right out at the boundary of Mars. It's going to be right around the orbit of Mars coming through.
Yeah, so it's going to, if it's having effects on the sun, then that's going to definitely have effects on the Earth. And not only that, the effects on the sun is going to affect the Earth. And so it's going to be like this not just a coupling, it's going to be it's like a tri-coupling.
And then add the extra increasing magnetic field with the 4 gas giants out there, and then you get your 4th variable there that not a lot of people are taking into consideration.
You know, and it's interesting because a lot of people that are kind of, I would call them sensitive, their psyche is sensitive to things. A lot of them are sensing that they're feeling a shake. They're feeling the ground losing gravity or losing its foundation. And I'll tell you, that's something that would describe this kind of event that you're talking about. You know, there's the Earth's, the actual gravitational foundation is being disrupted.
Now, that could be a good thing too. Maybe our magnetic resonance in our brains and the hemispheres need to go to some reset level, and then we can start again with much more awareness. Then we can kick this darkness off for another 1,000 years. Mm-hmm. So don't look at it as doom and gloom. Look at it as perhaps the releasing mechanism that we can exist in a different vibration where we could see the evil for what it is, and everybody sees it so clearly that it's no longer accepted. I don't care what religion you're in, what political party you're in, what your socioeconomic strata is, whether you're male or female, it wouldn't matter. That will be so all apparent that we exist in a different vibration frequency. But I think to retune the frequency, the magnetic field needs to either collapse or get coupled with another magnetic field, or get the resonance like you're talking about to almost a nil point and then reset before we can get into the different frequency. So for me, I'm looking at it as the possible thing that'll get us out of this, because something on like the creation level that will get us out of this, not anything on this human, like 3rd dimensional level. It's going to take something different. And maybe the resetting of the magnetic field on a different vibrational frequency, like a radio station would tune into a different station. And instead of being on 105.8, we suddenly go into 16.1 or 106.1 is where you got retuned to. You know, something like this. I'm very hopeful for this time. I know it's going to be tumultuous and unfathomable and unbelievable. And I'm really looking forward to the changes, because I know what I'm going to be looking for in the skies with plasma displays and, you know, sinkholes and kind of mud floods and all these kind of incredible things. But it's just verifying that these changes are here. And if you can just hold on until, I'm going to say October of 2024, everything you understood in terms of the way the Earth worked and the way society was functioned and set up, it's going to change in an instant, and it'll go back to something more harmonious, in tune again. And that's what I'm hoping with this double coupling magnetic field out there is going to do that. Reset us, reset the world, reset society, reset everything into a new frequency.
3 years ago, if I was hearing this stuff, I would say, yeah, it's woo-woo. You know, but now I definitely believe it. I for sure believe it.
In 2024, just like a retreating army, what do? You put a bunch of cover fire down so the retreating army can get out of there. That's what we're seeing right now. The economy is going to implode, and they're going to cover their tracks as far as they can and take as much as they can in these next 2 years. The amount of food they're going to put the humans on rationing, us up here on the surface, or whatever you want to call the non-military, non-elitists, and they're going to scoop and arbitrage the rest of that's available by perceived shortages for us as rationing, but that extra percentage that would have been for us is really still there, but it's going to go for continuity, preparation, and preparedness. These next 2 years are going to be incredible, and mark my words, 2024, they might pretend like it's there, and there's pretend it's a hard stick out, but there won't be any. It'll be complete illusion, because there will be nobody left. They'll have packed up, and you got to realize at that point you're on your own, because the earth changes that are coming in 24. We're going to see petroglyphs come to life in the skies. We're going to see plasma displays in our skies that are going to freak people out. We're repeating thousands of years of cycle of history here, and for me, it's now kind of like a deep breath, like, all right, let's go. You ready? mentally, are you ready? Let's go. Because I see all that now. I've done all the research. I've seen the changes. And for me, it's, you know, we've both double, triple verified these things are happening. If you got the timelines, you know how it's going to work. And that's where I guess the piece of it is, because I enjoy the days more. I enjoy being out on the land here. I enjoy, you know, talking with people more. But even now, out looking, my furthest out I even look anymore is 3 years. Like for me, there's nothing beyond 3 years, except surviving through those 3 years and then figuring out what's happening and through 2025 and 6, because then we get another second wave coming around 2028. So it's real good to know what's going to happen right now during this time, because the real shortage is coming 2028. So we can get a good gauge 2024, how governments react, if they're going to come back, if they're not, if they're just going to ride out the second wave and let everybody up here, you know. Think of it like, I don't know if you ever look at Piahi and Jaws over in Maui when those guys surfing those super giant, you know, 80-foot face waves and whatever. Sometimes somebody will wipe out on the wave, and you know, lifeguards will try to come in and get them, but then the second set's coming in and it's just too much white water, and they'll skirt out on their jet skis, and the guy out there need to, you know, take a couple waves set before somebody can come in and then, you know, help them again. So when I look at that, I'm looking at 2 wave set coming in at us. So the lifeguard, if you will, being the government and, you know, structure of statists or statism, whatever you want to, would they let it go and they're going to pull out and just wait for the 2 wave set to come in, and then 2030 come back in and be like, we still have all the tech and all the motors and stuff that got destroyed during those changes in 2023 era. Look, we can help you reestablish society. Just worship us again, and we can reestablish society for you. Or would they come back after 2024, the cataclysms and crazy earth changes, pop their heads back out from 25 and 26, and then pull back down again, because 2028 is going to be another tumultuous magnetic field, full sun canceling, no magnetic field on the sun, extreme eradication of our own poles here, which would create extremes on the planet. I don't know. But I'm looking out just a few years from now and just enjoying the moments. And I got the sunset tonight, and it's just put more of a peacefulness in me than a frightenedness. It's giving me more peace of mind knowing that we're going to go through what we're going to go through. Mm-hmm. Instead of being fearful of the changes, embrace them and know they're coming, and do the best you can to get ready and just enjoy their changes, because it's something that nobody's witnessed in 4,000 years plus here. Yeah, and to stay hopeful. You know, this is not the end of, if this was the end of the world, then we wouldn't be having this conversation, because through multiple ice ages, multiple changes and shifts from the collapse of the Roman Empire to now, if nobody survived, we wouldn't have the conversation. So somebody always survived. People always lived fruitful lives during these changes. It's about looking for the change and then finding the opportunity to provide something that will help people through the change. And if you can do that, you know, you'll be well taken care of.
Well, I appreciate you coming up on the channel and giving me your perspective on what's going on.